Hello, Dandelion community. It is so good to be here and have an opportunity to share with you all some more information about social emotional intelligence. We had such a good time on our last podcast where we talked about, getting in tune with your emotions with massages.
Yes.
And ensuring that you are adding that to your bucket list for self-care as a regimen. And today, Dandelion community, I have a friend. I have someone who has inspired me to love this space that we're going to talk about today. I have with me none other than the Jacqueline Osling. And she is just an amazing, phenomenal person who brings with her a calm and an energy that is so contagious. So welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Well, I've been anticipating your interview today because I always walk away truly inspired with more tools in my toolbox to turn my chaos into calm. And oh my goodness, we go way back. I remember, I think at the time, it may have been almost 20 years.
I know 15 for sure.
Yeah.
15 for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was like, yoga, what? A dear friend of mine was like, I've been going to a yoga class. And she was like, I think you'll like it. It's soft yoga. Actually, she called it black yoga. That's what she coined it.
Who's that, Shonda?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay.
She coined it.
I love it. Yeah, that was her.
So, Dandelion community at the time, about 15, 20 years ago, I was, my children were small. I was looking for respite from motherhood. We had just moved back from Chicago. And I needed something. I had found Zumba. I found it and became an instructional
Yes, you love
teacher.
That.
It's a secret. I don't tell too many people that.
tell
It's not a
them.
secret now. Don't ask me to teach Zumba classes now. But I wanted something else. I needed something else for my mind, body, and spirit. And we went to your class. It was downtown. It was near the rumble room. I remember that. I remember the building. But that was my first class.
Okay.
So
it wasn't at the church?
No.
Okay.
It was not at the church.
So it would have been at Leadership Memphis then, more than like
it
on
may
South
have been
Main.
on South Main.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
That's been a while, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been a while. That has been a while, yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, that was my first exposure. I went through the class. I didn't want to get off the floor. The incense, the intentionality to observing your body, being intentional about your breath. Those were new to me.
Yeah.
And it really impacted my life. And today, it's a part of my regimen. I include yoga in my meditation time, spiritual time. So let me tell the Dandelion community a little bit about you. I always like to let people know who these awesome, amazing people that come on the Dandelion Dialogue, and it's so befitting that you're here as we get ready to celebrate Juneteenth as well.
Yes. Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Jackie O, my gosh, she worked in nonprofit for 30 years. 30 years, that's a long time. And then made a transition into health and wellness. She began her wellness coach career with the intention to bridge the gap in mental and emotional well-being. And she works with other nonprofits, founders, executives, entrepreneurs, and her role is a workplace wellness and rest coach. Okay, that is her role currently. She's been featured in the New York Times, highlighted by the Memphis Music Initiative and the I Am documentary produced by Not Your Ordinary Films. Wow, that's a great accomplishment.
Thank you.
Again, affectionately known as Jackie O, she's a gifted practitioner who has touched hundreds, if not thousands, of lives through her holistic offering that integrate restorative yoga, mindfulness practices, ancient Kemetic wisdom and breath work. And as a sacred space holder, she curates rest experiences that invite black and brown people to breathe. Let's breathe now. Woo. Feel, heal, and recover from the damaging effect of race-based stress and trauma. The Sapphire Sanctuary LLC is her global wellness community in which women are held, affirmed, and celebrated on their journey of healing and wholeness. As founding organizer of Memphis Black Healers Collective, Jacqueline is a trusted resource, advisor, and advocate for grassroots efforts that seek to infuse healing-centered, culturally sensitive practices and rituals into urban neighborhoods. I present to you none other than the Jackie O again community. Yes, y'all give it up and give us some snaps for that. My goodness.
It's so funny. Right before you said "let's breathe," I had gone there because I was like, okay, let me get myself together here, and it was just a natural response.
Oh my goodness. Well, we are entering into a series about knowing your roots, knowing your roots, digging deep.
Yes.
And my favorite flower, the dandelion, that many call a weed. The dandelion is the most resilient flower there is. Why? Because it is well rooted in the ground. You can mow it, and guess what? It regenerates. It comes back. It's resilient. It's hard to get rid of it. But it's because of how deep the roots are. And so I really wanted us to have an opportunity to talk a little bit about how to stay rooted. How do we, right now especially, how do we stay rooted? But I want you to tell us a little bit more. Who is Jackie O right now?
That question has come up consistently for me over the past 7 years. When I first stepped into this wellness space, I was presented with that question, who am I? And I would have to say that was the first time that I intentionally paused to reflect on that question through the lens of who I am, not what I do. Or not by the roles that had shaped my life up until that point. And so that question is so powerful because it allows us to step into a space of curiosity and listening and observing ourselves in a way that we don't if we're not asking that question, right? And so it's a very powerful question I bring into spaces when I do coaching. And so to answer your question, in this season of my life, I've become very, very clear that the most prominent expression of who I am is a sacred space holder. It doesn't matter if I'm here in the podcast with you, if I am coaching a group of nonprofit professionals, if I'm spending time with my little cousins, I am there to hold space for what that person or that group needs in terms of connecting with spirit, connecting with themselves, and connecting with the world around them. I am not there to do the work. I am there to create a container for spirit to do and engage with that person in a way in which only spirit can. And so when they step into that container, there's something there for them in that container. And my role is to have that space that affirms you, that celebrates you, that acknowledges you, that listens to you. Because outside of that container, oftentimes people don't get the chance for that to happen.
Yeah.
And so that's who I am in a nutshell, is a sacred space holder. Now that manifests itself in a bunch of ways, as a mama to my sons, as a village mother to all of these brilliant, amazing young people who I'm connected to elders, to young folks. But at the end of the day, when I lay my head down, my question is, who have I served today?
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of the day, who am I called to serve today? And so that's who I am.
Mm-hmm. Sacred space holder.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Jackie, why yoga? 30 years. Oh my goodness. In that word, still serving as a leader, servant leader.
Yeah.
But why yoga? What?
So yoga actually found me, I would just say probably very intrinsically. I am a Black female Southerner who was raised as a Christian in the Annisdale community of Memphis. Attended Central High School, yay, go Warriors, the high school. I was very interested in becoming a doctor. I wanted to be an OBGYN.
Oh, wow.
Not sure how I thought that was going to happen because I did not like math or science, nor was I good at math or science. But I just always had this interest in the body.
Yeah.
And intuitively, something would tell me that there's more to the body than just this physical matter, right? Never really saw that talked about, experienced that played out, but just something about the body and how it functioned said there's more to it than just my arms, my legs, my feet, my head. And so I had a classmate, Shiva Ray, who is world renowned, as a yoga practitioner. But Shiva practiced yoga. We never saw her practice yoga, but she talked about it. She said that she did. And it was just something about the way she moved as even a teenager. We were, 9th through 12th grade together. But she was always very calm, very centered. And so I was just intrigued by that. And back in the day, we had this Black magazine called Heart and Soul. So I got me a subscription. I think it's probably like $5. That seemed like a lot of money, but it was Heart and Soul. And there were a couple of other wellness magazines that, talked about yoga, talked about Pilates. So I would read the articles, I would look at the pictures, but never practiced it, never picked it up as a practice, but it was just always intriguing. So I had boxes and boxes of these magazines. And when I was, to fast forward 10, 15, 20 years into my nonprofit career, I worked at Dress for Success Memphis, and our executive director had a friend who was a Black male. His name was Amsa Shepsu. And so she said, well, Amsa's going to be in town. They had gone to high school and college together. And at the time, we had been trying to integrate yoga and mindfulness into the work that we were doing with our clients at Dress for Success Memphis. These were women who were transitioning into self-sufficiency, and we knew that piece could really be powerful for them. And so at the time, I was not practicing yoga. I was not a yoga teacher. And so we were trying to figure that piece out. So he came to town. He says, well, hey, I'll do a session for you all. And, invite your clients, invite your volunteers, and let's do the class. So he did the class downtown at an art gallery. And the only folks who were there was myself and one of our volunteers.
Oh, wow.
And when he finished that class, I felt like I was in a bubble. Just this beautiful, brilliant bubble. And I just want to bounce around life in this bubble. And so that was really my first seed sown directly with that experience. A couple of years probably went by, a short period of time went by, and I met a friend who was teaching yoga. So I went to a couple of, no, I didn't go to any of her classes. That did not happen immediately. I decided, hey, I need to start using my YMCA membership. I've got this membership we've been paying. You know how you pay the membership every month, and out of sight, out of mind. And so I needed something before work because I knew I would be more consistent going for work, after school, after work with the kids and all of that. So as it turns out, what they offered in the morning was yoga. It was at the Mason YMCA, which is no longer even open, but that was close proximity to work. I think it was a 7 o'clock class that would still allow me to get to work by 8:15 or 8:30.
Okay.
Started practicing only twice a week. My first teacher's name was Truth. And it is so crazy to this day how immediately within the first month of that class, I only practiced twice a week in that class. I was not practicing at home, but I immediately experienced a shift in my metabolism. I dropped like 2 dress sizes. I was in a very difficult marriage, needing to make a decision about that, needed just more resilience and more just strength in serving the women I was called to serve at Dress for Success. And so that became a powerful extension of my spirituality. I was still going to church every Sunday, still reading my Bible.
Yeah.
So contrary to what the myth is out there, yoga is not
Yes.
evil and it is not of the devil.
Yes.
It became a tool that helped to deepen my relationship with God and my ability to engage with spirit. It helped me to gain clarity about decisions that were best for me, even though they were difficult decisions. And it just became a practice that helped me to be well in my body, helped me to be well in my thinking, and helped me to be well in my heart space.
Yes, yes.
And so I'm like, dang, if this is having this effect on me, I want other people, especially black people, to have this same experience.
Absolutely.
And so a couple of years after I started practicing, in 2010 is around the time when I started practicing, maybe 2009. In 2011 is when I decided to become a yoga teacher. And so that's what led me to the path of yoga. I really say that yoga really found me.
Talk a little bit more about brown communities, specifically African American, how we view yoga as something that is not of God. It's not godly. It's, mystical. It is voodoo. It is, not something that the black community should indulge in. Talk a little bit more about that, because I think that keeps a lot of people from even attempting to go to a class. Doctors now are prescribing yoga for high blood pressure. And so what can you say to the community to help dispel some of those myths?
Well, before I address that, I always speaking of rooted, I like to get to the root of why something is, especially as it relates to us as black people, because there are so many things that we have inherited or accepted or live by that are rooted in ignorance or that have been forced upon us by the systems within which we live. So, first of all, yoga has a popular perception that it is something that only white people do, that it is that it's connected to Hinduism and other Eastern religions, and that it is wicked or sacred or soothsaying and all those kinds of things. So anytime we don't understand or know about something, we attach a fear to it. And so that fear is what causes us to reject it versus learning and understanding about it. And so for many decades, for a very long time, that's been our orientation towards yoga. We see pictures of older white men who you can see their bones and their skin and their bodies are contorted into these shapes. And they typically are people who practice Hinduism and other Eastern religions, so the automatic assumption is that that's their religion. To clarify the origins of yoga actually originated in Kemet in Africa, as have all things. And so as a practitioner, I have a responsibility to write that historical truth. The images on the temple walls bear truth to the fact that you see these images of bodies standing in the shape of a tree or sitting in a seated position, which is a scribe position. So all of that predates anything that happened in India. The practice of yoga migrated from the continent of Africa into India, which is just a few treks away.
Right.
Everything, migrated from there. But it was not a tradition that was passed down to us as black people in terms of it being a practice for wellness. And so because folks have always associated with it being a part of a religion, especially Eastern religion, it's something that we did not embrace, we did not understand, and we rejected. So what is yoga? Yoga is a practice. The word itself means union. It is not a religious practice. It is a metaphysical practice, and all that means is that it helps to connect the physical part of our being to our soul and our mind. And there are 8 limbs of yoga, or different components of yoga, that deal with moral principles for living, that deal with our awareness around how we treat our body, awareness around how we treat the earth, awareness around how we treat other people. The physical part of it, the part that we see, the stretching and the strength building, is only one of those limbs. Breathing and meditation. Meditation is one of the limbs of yoga. So there's a lot of understanding and learning and unlearning that can help individuals to either accept this or not accept it.
Right.
But it is a powerful tool for a vibrant way of living.
Absolutely.
For
It's
a
a
healthy
mindset.
way of living. Yes.
It's a lifestyle, actually.
Absolutely.
And I know personally, I've had to retrain my thinking when I was first introduced to it, because of all of those, unfound, ignorant.
And just to draw some correlation and even some acknowledgement for those who are coming from a spiritual space, I think about in the Bible how God says, "Be loved above all things. My wish is that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers." Yoga is a tool that helps to manifest that.
Yes.
Psalms 1:1 talks about meditating on the word both day and night. Meditation is a practice that is referenced in the Bible.
Yes.
And so if we take time to gain that understanding and detach from that fear and the ignorance of what it is not, and accepting it for what it is. If you got high blood pressure because you stressed out and you are not nourishing your body properly, and if yoga is a practice that can get you to sit down somewhere and stop saying yes to everything and get you off those chemical drugs, why wouldn't God want you to practice that?
Absolutely. Snaps on that.
Absolutely.
Ashe.
Amen. I hold anything you want to say to affirm that truth.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Now, can you give a differentiation between mindfulness and meditation? Talk to us a little bit about the difference between the two.
So mindfulness is the practice or the act of paying attention right here, right now.
In a non-judgmental way.
In a non-judgmental way, in a compassionate way, in a way in which you are practicing curiosity, you're being open-minded. All of those are principles of mindfulness. So it means allowing yourself to anchor right here, to be rooted right here in what's going on. Not
in the present moment.
In the present moment. Because this is where, you hear folks say the past is over, the future is not here, is not yet here, and the present moment is the gift, and that's true. Because the only breath we have is the one we just took in this moment. That's what grounds us in the present, is the breath that God just gave us right here.
Right.
The next one is not promised, but God is faithful and He's going to give it to us. But let's be right here with this one. And let's learn the lessons from what already has happened in the past. Don't ruminate over that, because you cannot change it. Rumination is what causes anxiety, and then overexerting our energy toward what hasn't even happened in the future also causes anxiety. So mindfulness is that practice of saying, okay, while I'm eating my dinner, I am not going to be scrolling on Instagram or talking on the phone or doing other things while I'm chewing and eating my food. Driving down the street, I'm preaching to myself. I'm not going to be, checking email. We do it.
Absolutely.
So now the common thing is when we're in community with others, the phone is always in our hand. We're not even paying attention to it. Yeah,
it's near. So that word you just said, so it's an intentionality.
Making the choice.
On purpose.
Making the choice.
In that moment. To be mindful. Whether it's eating. I actually did a mindful walking retreat.
Yes.
To be more centered and grounded in where I place my feet. Because I have a tendency to just move fast. And I had no idea that it was impacting my thought process. And I was missing things. So now I'm more mindful. of every step, every breath, of course, but now every step where I place my feet. And so meditation.
So to answer the question, so meditation is a mindfulness practice. And there are many, many ways to meditate. Again, that's a myth that you have to be sitting down, your legs have to be crossed, you have to have your fingers in a mudra, you've got to stop your mind from thinking. The mind will never stop thinking because that's what it was created to do. But meditation allows us to come to a place of centering and calm, to regulate our thinking, to tune in with the breath at the center, and to go within. But we can meditate as we're washing the dishes because we're being mindful about the water and how the water feels on our hands. Thanking God for clean, fresh running water. Thanking God for the hands, the ability to wash those. If your pinky is missing, that's going to cause you to have to wash that plate differently. So being aware of the fact that my hand serves a particular function that allows me to do certain things.
So you mean, y'all hear this, listen now, Dandelion community. So that means I don't have to get up at a certain time, lay a mat out to meditate.
You don't.
What?
You can decide this morning I'm waking up and for 5 minutes I am going to be in silence before I reach for my phone. Because I've been sleeping with my phone in the bathroom away from the bed. So the first thing I do, I want to reach over and touch that phone. Now I do go ahead and get in the bathroom and get it at some point, but that is a form of mindfulness that says I'm making the decision not to let the technology be the first thing I connect with. I'm being aware that I'm breathing, that my eyes have opened, that I get to get up and open my blinds and see what's outside of my window. And so for 5 minutes, for 1 minute, I'm just going to sit here in silence, and that can be a form of meditating.
That is so good to hear, and I
it
really
does
want
take
that
a
to
lot.
resonate
A little bit goes
because
a long
you'll
way.
hear a lot of people say that's just not what I do.
Yeah.
That's just not that's not how I find my peace and calm because I don't have time to sit for 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 5 minutes. I just don't have that. I do different things to meditate, but to hear you say that it's just a matter of being still in the moment, specifically in the morning before your feet hit the ground, to pause, to be grateful and thankful, to breathe in that moment is meditation. That's powerful.
Yeah, I have to break it down in a way folks can, find their space in that because there's so many options out there. There's so many things that we see, but in its simplest form, I bring everything back to connecting with that breath. In the presence of breath is life and life more abundantly, but in the absence of breath, there is no life.
There is no life. I want the good hormones, the serotonin.
Yes.
So, now, Jackie, I don't know about you, but sometimes because I'm in this social emotional space, I'll have people say, "You don't never get upset, Sto. You never get angry, Sto." And if my children around, they'll say, "Huh." If my husband's around, no telling what he might say. But tell us a time you shared some about the practices and rituals that you do. Has there ever been a time when you didn't feel rooted? A specific time where you really had to lean into practicing what you preach. I know that there have been times when I've had to say, "Oh my goodness, I have totally abandoned, my platform, because this is my mantra. I believe in it." And I had to wait a minute and lean back into it because I was dysregulated. I wasn't grounded. My roots were turned upside down. Has that ever happened to you? And how did you navigate that?
So there are two distinct life-defining experiences that I had that come to mind, and they happened within a relatively short period of time, within probably 6 or 8 months of each other. First was my last divorce. It's not recent. My last divorce. I've been married and divorced 3 times, and so that last divorce happened in December of 2010. And prior to that, we had gone through a separation period. And so that was the first time in my life where I did not have at that point, my 2 older children were no longer at home. I just had one school-age child still at home. Francis, my youngest, Joshua. And so Jeremy and Jamal had already transitioned to college. And we had agreed on, we'd gone through several visitation arrangements, and we agreed on 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, it had been just a weekend. So the weekend, I was kicking them. 2 of my besties, they were all 3 going through divorce at the same time. Mm. So 8 o'clock Friday, we woke up talking about what we're going to do when we get off work. Mm. So 5 o'clock Friday, we had our plan situated. So the whole weekend, we were kicking it. Mm. From Friday, sundown to Sunday, you know, just having a good time, yes. Just enjoying each other. And so for me, that was my way of filling that time, because that was the first time I didn't have a child who was dictating what I was doing with my time and my energy. Mm-hmm. And so that was, you know, that was cool for a minute. And then we decided to do 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. Mm. And oh my goodness, I was like a walking zombie, because I didn't know how to structure my time, my energy, my resources, anything. Yeah. With the absence of this child in my home. Mm-hmm. And so I was coming home from work every day hitting the sofa, because I just...
Delirious.
I was delirious because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what my purpose was. Mm-hmm. Other than going to work and then, you know, coming home and being mom.
Wow.
And
Roots
so,
sticking straight up.
Yeah. And so that went on for, you know, a significant period of time, mm-hmm. until finally I realized, okay, this is a chance for me to cultivate some other things, yeah. to redirect this time and energy, and to not just feel like isolated and hopeless because your mothering role has shifted. You're still a mom, but that was a very, very difficult time. Yeah. And then it was very difficult for me to watch my child have to pack up his life every 2 weeks and move from one place to the other. And so there was just a lot of accepting and allowing that I had to learn to do, and say that this is okay. It's not that bad. What are the positives in this? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The other time where I was very socially and emotionally dysregulated is when my mother passed. That was the most destabilizing time of my life. My mom was a huge rock for me, for my sons, for our nuclear family. And so figuring out, how do I really grow up now? Mm-hmm. How do I step into these shoes that, you know, she has filled for my entire life? Yeah. And so that was an extremely difficult time that lasted probably for about 2 or 3 years, okay. of just ebbing and flowing in and out of that. Mm-hmm.
And grief is one of those places. I have not lost immediate loved ones in that way, but some of my family and friends around me have. Mm-hmm. And to see the depth of suffering that goes along with grief is devastating. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so talk a little bit about how maybe some of these practices can help help lean into a space of, you know, you may never, and I hear this all the time, you never get over or get past the loss.
It's true.
You learn to live with it. Mm-hmm. But can you share a little bit about how maybe you've coached in that space of grief in some of the mindfulness or meditation or yoga practices to help them get through it?
Yeah, I haven't specifically done grief coaching per se. However, when we think about life, it's helpful to expand our understanding of grief in and of itself as a dynamic, because we not only just grieve the loss of our loved ones, but we can grieve identities of ourselves that shifted, like with me going from a full-time everyday mother to being, again, a divorced solo mom again. We can grieve the expectation or desire of thought of who we were going to be, and we turned out being something else, or how a scenario didn't play out the way we wanted it to be. So grief can happen across so many different spectrums, and it is a normal dynamic of life. And so one of the most significant things we can do is to acknowledge that at some point in our lives we will be in a situation where loss has happened, and that it is okay for us to feel the way we're feeling. We don't have to be strong. We don't have to disregard our feelings. And however we're feeling, that is okay. The other very important thing is to have a non-judgmental, supportive system, person, community around you that will walk alongside you when you are grieving forever, however long it takes. It's also important not to attach a timeline or a time frame to, well, by now she should be over it, or by now I should be feeling a certain way. Because grief is an evolving and unfolding journey that we make progress with, and then something can happen and it'll cause us to have to revisit how we're feeling. You're going to have that first birthday, that first holiday, or you'll find yourself at a place where there's a very special memory with you and that person, or you and this experience. So really allowing it to take up the space it needs to take up, but not allowing it to smother you out. And so that's where these practices, and they're called practices, it's just like the teams, an athletic team, they get on the court and they practice before they get in the game. So when you wake up in the morning and turn an alarm clock off and decide to go ahead and get up and sit in silence, or decide to fix your morning cup of tea and let the warmth from that cup nourish you while you get in touch with spirit, that is a practice that allows us to be able to process how we're feeling and to make decisions that support us healing versus hinder our healing.
Yes. That is critical. Practice. That was so rich, and as you mentioned, grief of all shapes, whether it's the loss of a job, friendships, so many ways that grief can impact you. I know that in this work of social emotional, and as a coach, I work with a lot of women who are lonely. They have a lot of people around them, but they struggle with anxiety, they struggle with depression, and they have a hard time being by themselves. Talk a little bit about what is the difference between healthy solitude and loneliness, because sometimes people will say, I can't go to the movies by myself, or I'm not getting ready to go out to eat by myself, or I can't sit still by myself.
That's a powerful question, Dion, because as you were saying that helps me to understand now why individuals often feel that they can't or they shouldn't do things just with, by, and for themselves. And it's rooted in not understanding the purpose of solitude and why it is necessary for us to have that time with ourselves. So the difference fundamentally between healthy solitude and loneliness, solitude is something we choose voluntarily for the purpose of spending time with yourself, your thoughts, choosing to be curious about who you are, what you like to do, what you don't like to do. It helps to bring tranquility because you're not having to engage your energy with anyone or anything else except yourself. And so with that inward focus, it allows you to, it enhances your creativity. It opens up avenues of understanding about why a certain thing continues to make me feel a certain way. Or in this time that I'm spending with just myself, I get to choose what I want to do and what I don't want to do. And so these are healthy benefits that allow you to recharge. Loneliness is something that happens to us because of a circumstance or a situation that's occurred. It oftentimes is involuntary, and it can cause us to feel disconnected, disregarded. It can cause us to feel like we are going through life without support. And so loneliness needs to be addressed so that it doesn't turn into isolation and depression and anxiety. So when someone experiences a transition or the loss of a partner or the loss of the community that was around them, then loneliness will set in. However, there has to be the choice made to say, I'm going to reconnect in a healthy way, not because I don't want to be by myself or I can't be by myself, but I need the support of community, but also balancing that without having a dependence on others all the time, so that you can step back into a space of being with yourself in a healthy way. So the awareness, the social emotional awareness is very key to know the difference between when I'm feeling isolated and disconnected versus when I'm saying, don't call me this weekend. I'm not answering the phone. I'm okay. I'm going here and fix my favorite pizza and put some extra cheese on it because that's what I want to do. And I'm not sharing it with anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because I just need that time for me.
Yeah. How important, when we think about our community, our city right now, when we think about young people, not just women, but some of our young people are feeling isolated and lonely for whatever reason. So many young people are crying out for help because they don't feel like they have an option to be able to share their voice or a platform to share their voices and to anyone to hear them validate or affirm them. So why do you think there's so much dysregulation? Just in regards to how our city is just uprooted right now. You know, specifically our young people. Just it appears as if there's no grounding whatsoever. And I like to ask this question because I think that a lot of people say they don't know, but I think collectively there is a way to be able to address some of what we see in reference to the uprooting of our young people specifically. But in your own words, why do you think there is so much dysregulation, that the social emotional health of our city is totally unraveled?
Take a deep breath on that one.
Yes.
So I'd like to answer that question by reflecting on what it was like for us and for me as a child. As I mentioned, I grew up primarily in the Annisdale community of Memphis, which is the area bordered by McLean, Lamar. It's in between Glenview, Orange Mound, in that area of town. So I think about growing, and then my dad's mother lived in the Valentine Evergreen area. So primarily those two areas, South Memphis, Midtown, Valentine Evergreen. But I think about what was present for us growing up. My family they were working class individuals. My dad's family, my grandmother was an entrepreneur, so I had that experience. And then my mother's side of the family were working class, loving, beautiful, community-rooted people. So we had the elders around us. We had the church community around us. We had the ability to be able to play outside in safety. We had educators that cared about us, that made sure that education and our well-being was the number one priority. So those were pillars for us: community care, family connection, family rooting, community care that filled in the gap, and then that presence of spiritual and religious connection. Our family was considered poor. I didn't realize that because our house was the house everyone came to whenever they had a deficit in their home. If they needed sugar, paper towels, Kleenex,
Pigs,
napkins.
whatever.
That's why I always keep paper towels, Kleenex, and napkins in my house, because we always have paper towels, Kleenex, and napkins. And we use the Kleenex to blow our nose, man, not the paper towels. But that was just what we grew up around. But then you had the resurgence of the middle class family and that desire to move away from the inner city to the suburbs, and the desire for affluence and influence. And so certainly there's nothing wrong with those things. Right. But even with myself, I noticed as I became a young adult mother at a very early age, at the age of 19, I was aspiring for that. A 2-parent home, and the nice home away from the city, and the cars and all of that. So you had that dynamic at play. Then you had the decline of the nuclear family, where the multiple generations didn't live together anymore. And then, our educational system, I'm just so disgruntled. That's a whole nother conversation. And then you have the systemic injustices that are in play that keep individuals in poverty, where there is not enough income coming into the home. So folks are having to work multiple jobs just to try to keep their head above water. We're not making a livable wage. You can't live off of a livable wage. You need much more. So there are all these dynamics in play. And then when there is not a focus on truly helping folks to be connected and reconnected back to the truth of us as powerful spiritual beings, and powerful black folks who are intelligent, who are wise, who are worthy, if that is not a part of our orientation and what we are being taught and what we are learning and what we are believing, then you have all these things that are splintering us. And so what that splintering ends up looking like is violence, is crime, is folks just trying to live and make a way.
Surviving, not thriving.
Surviving and not thriving, because society is not orienting us towards wholeness, but it is orienting us towards division by design.
It's systemic.
Breaking down the structure of the black family, the black community. It's all a part of the patriarchal control that is a part of the society that we live in. Yeah.
What gives you hope?
What gives me hope is the knowing that within our community we have all the talent, all the resources, my grandma would say all the wits, for us to cultivate and nurture communities that are vibrant, that are whole, and that are healthy. And so when I think about some of the nonprofit organizations that we have in our community that are doing that work, when I think about platforms such as this that help to bring awareness to the community, when I look at this generation of young people who are very fearless, very courageous, very self-aware about the truth that they are here to make a difference in a very different way, and they unapologetically do that through their arts, their offerings, that gives me hope.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that.
That gives me hope.
So, what can you tell someone that may be listening right now that they can't find their footing, they can't ground themselves, they are totally uprooted? Maybe it's a relationship that's uprooted, maybe it's family, children, job, or they're just struggling to find purpose. What advice can you give them right now in this moment to not lose hope, to stay the course, to find their footing and to regenerate?
The first thing I want to say is that, first of all, you are worthy, you are powerful, and you have purpose just as you are. You may not be walking in that fully right now. You may be trying to figure it out. But the truth remains, because you are still alive, you still have purpose. And your experience has been allowed for that to be able to support, to bolster, to encourage someone else. So that's the first thing. That's a truth that is non-negotiable. The second thing I would say is that now is the greatest time for you to be alive. because you get to step out of the space you're in and step into a space of curiosity and wonder about what is next. What is it that I have within my hands and my heart that I can use first to nurture myself, but then to offer that as a gift to the world? And you may be saying, yeah, all that's fluff, that sounds good, that's easier said than done. But there is a truth in that. And we have to, it's very important for us to disentangle from this culture that says what I am doing determines what I am worth. At 6 o'clock, I have an alarm that goes off most days, and that alarm says, my worth is not connected to my work. I have done the best I could do today. I release the outcome to spirit, and I allow spirit to fill in the gaps. And so by 6 o'clock, if I haven't gotten it done, I'm done for the day. So to that person who's feeling hopeless, who's feeling confused, who's feeling disconnected, I would say slow down. Spend time in healthy solitude, journaling about what's great about yourself, because there's greatness on the inside of every single one of us. Oftentimes it gets pushed down, it gets silenced, it gets deterred by all the weights of the world. When we come into that space of solitude and we step into that healthy container for ourselves, we get to release those things that are weighing us down. We get to breathe deeply and allow that breath to move those things out of our bodies. We get to say, I want to connect with a different type of energy, an energy that uplifts me and raises my vibration, not one that lowers my vibration.
Absolutely.
So everyone has the right and the opportunity to choose. And that's what I would say is to choose you. Take a chance on you.
Choose you.
Choose you.
Take a chance.
Yes.
Take a risk.
And let no be a complete sentence.
Let it be a complete
You don't have
sentence.
to explain
That's
it.
the word, Jackie.
You don't have to justify it. Sorry, I can't do
Period.
that right now. I don't have the resources available right now.
Yeah, no need to give a dissertation on your why you can't, but just know. Choose you, Dandelion community. My goodness, Jackie, that's powerful. I
And
hope
know
you
that
all
when
got
you
these
do
nuggets.
that, the universe, God, spirit, however you identify and name your higher power will start to align, because everything is energy. And so we often say opposites attract, but like attracts like. So you want to keep your vibration and your expectation high, because that's what is going to attract more of that. It's energetic. Everything is energy. Energy is everything.
Absolutely. Dandelion community, I hope that you're taking good notes today. This is powerful, talking about energy, and there is power in this space and in this conversation today. Well, Jackie, where can one find you? If one is seeking to experience you, because you are an experience, to indulge in a yoga experience. You have amazing retreats. I've been to them. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for that space to either reconnect, realign, to regenerate your roots, this is the person that you need to connect with.
Thank you.
Most definitely. So, Jackie, tell the community where they can find you. What do you have coming up?
Yes.
What's going on, and where can we plug in?
Ask. So a large part of the work I do is, as we mentioned in the beginning, is I support several nonprofit organizations, support their teams with mental and emotional wellness. And so I really enjoy doing that work, because I came out of the nonprofit space and I knew that there was a void in the workplace around wellness. The other big component of what I do is I hold space for women, especially women who are high achieving women, who are decision makers, who are often unable to have the space and the time they need to care for themselves. And so one of the things that I offer is curated experiences that are individual one-on-one experiences for high achieving founders, business owners, executive women. The other thing I do is I have a global community of women who are around the world, and that is my Sapphire Sisters community.
Okay.
That we meet once a month virtually in a sacred circle. And so this space is for women to bring whatever they need to have nurtured, need to have witnessed into that space. And we experience restorative yoga, mindfulness practices, journaling, but it is a container for women to be nourished, to be affirmed, to be celebrated. I offer that as a virtual space because it truly is a global community. I have folks as far as women as far as the UK who join that experience, and we build community there. Women come back month after month. We nurture our sensuality in that space. We nurture our hearts. We regulate our mind. We relax our nervous systems. It is just a yummy space for you to show up and be just like you are.
It's awesome, y'all.
Yes. And then in person, I have a once a month experience called Yoga Honeys. And that is movement medicine for women of color. And so we combine yoga with other forms of sensual movement such as belly dancing, pole dancing, sensual movement as a way for us to be able to express ourselves authentically, to nurture our sacral chakra, to enhance our creativity, to strengthen our core, our resolve. And so it is a safe space to show up with your body just like it is, and for us to use these movement practices to nourish us and for us to evolve into our best selves.
So if you want to fill your cup
Yes.
and to overflow, this is where to come.
Yep. And then finally, I'm hosting my first global retreat in Tulum, Mexico, October 17th through the 22nd. And so we will be journeying through the elements in the beautiful, sacred Mayan land of Mexico. It is a time to step away from life as usual, to be pampered, to be nourished, to have every need met.
And how can one find out more about that?
Yes, so my website is Jackie O, JACKIEO, wellness.com. JackieOWellness.com, and you can find me on Instagram at JackieO_1. And of course, my bio link there gives you a full display of everything I offer. So JackieO_1 on Instagram.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing.
Yep.
Well, there you have it, Dandelion community. We've got our marching orders to get our mind, body, soul, and spirit in order.
Yes.
So that we can be the best versions of ourselves.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dee.
For being on Get It and Know With
invitation.
Sto on
Yes,
Dandelion
I
today.
love it. I know you kind of closed it out, but you said something so key. You talked about the cup. And we've often heard fill your cup, but you want to fill your cup to overflow.
Absolutely.
So the saucer is for everyone else, and the cup is for you. And so these mindfulness practices, having healthy boundaries, communicating those boundaries, tending to our mental health, our emotional health, our physical health, our spiritual health, is how we fill that cup.
Absolutely.
And if there are times when you're on empty, you turn that cup over so that others know this time is for me, and don't come asking me for nothing, because right now I'm filling my cup. I'm choosing
Absolutely.
me. Yeah.
You got your marching orders, Dandelion community.
Yes.
Choose you.
Choose you. Yes.
And put into practice the practices
Every day.
every day.
A little bit goes a long ways. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
Well, Dandelion community, I am so appreciative. I'm so grateful. Thank you for choosing to spend time with us today to hear Jackie O as she has helped us to understand how to stay rooted. We want to stay grounded. We want to flourish. We want to not just survive, but to thrive. So I want you all to share this podcast with someone. Go to YouTube and subscribe because we want to grow this community.
Yes.
Go to my website at destinationdandelion.com. And please, if you've missed a podcast, go to YouTube or my Facebook page and check it out. And please sign up. Contact me if you'd like to be on the show. I'd love to have you so you can get in the Know With Sto. Until next time, you all be amazing and stay rooted.